Hey all, Bree from the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I have got a gift for you this holiday season. If you love the No Guilt Mom podcast, and I mean love the No Guilt Mom podcast, then tell us about it. Leave us a review, and you can be entered to win a No Guilt Mom gift card. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and then simply go to noguiltmom.com/review to enter our giveaway for a free No Guilt Mom gift card, simply for telling us what you think about the podcast. It is amazing. But don't delay. Get right on this, as we're going to be giving away that No Guilt Mom gift card on December 21st. So get right on over and visit noguiltmom.com/review.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, Joanne Crone, joined here by my fantastic co-host, Bree Tucker.
Well, hello, everybody. How are you?
We're hanging in today. It's nice out. It's finally nice in Arizona. I'm sure like everyone back east is like, shut up. But
I know. It's rough to say that out here. Nice happens for us like 1 month out of the year. Yeah, it's like the rest of the year, it's just weird.
Well, like our standards for nice too. Like I think it would get us punched by East Coasters because like Bree and I are like, oh my gosh, it's so cold outside. And it's like 45.
Right. Well, okay. What I can't, the one thing that irritates me, I'm not going to say can't stand, because trust me, the summers are what I cannot stand.
Yeah.
But the thing that irritates me about the desert is the fact that like you get up in the morning and it's in the 30s, high 30s, but mind you, but still it's in the 30s. And then by the afternoon, it's like 80.
Yeah.
I'm just like, make up your mind, nature.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to layers, You have to layer. We learn how to layer here for sure.
I go to work in the morning and I have my heater on and my seat heater on. And then if I forget to turn it off and I get in the afternoon, I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm melting.
It's funny. It's totally funny. I've started preheating. Well, today was the first day I preheated the house for you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I appreciate it. My fingers,
gets a little cold.
Yeah, my fingers would turn blue occasionally.
We both turn blue because it's 66 inside.
I know, right? We're such desert dwellers.
We have like no internal temperature regulation. But it's all good.
A lizard.
We're lizards. It's all good. It's all good.
Glorious.
So today we are talking all about the difference between punishment and consequences. And it's like an interesting difference because some people equate them to be the same thing. It's like, oh, you haven't done your homework. Here is your consequence of getting your electronics taken away. And that's not what it is at all.
Right. And it's funny, too, how sometimes when we're doing these things, when we do them emotionally,
we do them emotionally.
They tend to not be the most effective.
No. So we are going to talk about the 4 R's of consequences. It's how you know if it's a consequence instead of a punishment. And we'll also show you how like you're not being soft by doing consequences and like taking away punishment. Because that's a frequent like worry that they're being like soft and not firm as parents.
Permissive is a big word we hear a lot.
Yes. And this is not permissive. This is more about respecting the child, building the child's self-esteem, and teaching
problem-solving skills and teaching them the ability to be able to make these decisions about what is right, what is wrong, what's acceptable without someone standing over them and pointing it out.
Yeah. So we hope that you enjoy this episode. Hey, if you really, really want to get your kids off screens and playing more with each other, come and download our free sibling adventure log. It has 5 fun missions that siblings can do together, play together, have a positive time together, and get off the screens for a little bit. So you can find that at noguiltmom.com/sibling-adventure-log. And now, on with the show. You want mom life to be easier. That's our goal too. Our mission is to raise more self-sufficient and independent kids, and we're going to have fun doing it. We're going to help you delegate and step back. Each episode will tackle strategies for positive discipline, making our kids more responsible and making our lives better in the process. Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. So, consequences versus punishment. Consequences are something that I discuss with my kids a lot, and we discuss the difference because they come to me and they say things like their friends have been grounded because they did something or other, and grounded is a punishment, and they're like, we don't get grounded. I'm like, no, you don't get grounded. So we have a lot of discussions about that.
Well, it's funny. Okay, I love that part. It's funny. Yeah. It's funny how it's semantics, but I want to hear this story.
But so
I'm very interested. You're bubbling.
My kids are quick to point out what is a consequence and what is a punishment. And so my son gets in the car in the afternoon. He's like, Mom, so-and-so's parents need to listen to your podcast because they are using punishments and not consequences. And I'm here going, oh my gosh, Mom's not going to have any friends at school.
Everyone's going to be like, oh, it's that lady again.
It's that lady. But it's interesting because there is a difference between consequences and punishment. And you found some great definitions to describe the difference between the two.
Oh, yeah, right. So technically, a consequence is the actual result of a direct effect of an action. It's the goal, and our goal for giving consequences is to teach our child a lesson, which is what discipline is. It's about teaching. So again, when you're using a consequence, it's supposed to lead a child towards making more positive choices. The difference there is that a punishment, if you go by the actual definition of the word punishment, it's defined as suffering, pain, or loss that serves as retribution. And the goal of punishment, we all know, is to inflict pain, not necessarily physical pain, but emotional pain. We want someone to feel the downside of that choice.
Yeah, it's the underlying assumption that in order to change behavior, you have to feel pain because of your behavior.
Right. One of my most favorite sayings I ever got from Dodie Blumberg, who was in our Positive Discipline podcast episode 12, when I was going through my positive discipline training, was, where did we ever get the crazy idea that in order for kids to behave better, they have to feel bad first?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's totally right.
But it's kind of how we were raised in the 80s. Positive discipline was not a thing when our parents were parenting. What was the thing? I think it was Dr. Sears or Dr. Spock. And wasn't that only babies?
I think it was Dr. Spock, because that was babies. But but still, it was, and I do find it interesting because that really was the cultural norm. All of us got grounded.
Yeah, we all got grounded.
All of us have stories about getting spanked and whatnot. That was just how it went. Now, granted, I think I'm a pretty keen person. I think I'm pretty cool. I think I turned out okay. I think my parents did a great job with me.
Mine as well.
But I want to do better with my kids.
Yeah, well, the thing with punishment kind of in the 80s is that the goal was really compliant behavior.
Right.
It was, I actually heard kids should be seen and not heard, that kind of thing. And it was the goal of getting kids to listen and respect authority. And today, that is not the goal anymore.
Right. We want to have individuals that can think through things, that can problem solve on their own and make up their own mind.
And we don't want people who blindly follow authority.
No. I'm going to pause this. I don't want anybody to feel like we've got this down perfect.
No.
If you were to talk to either of my children, they will tell you there are plenty of times where they did something and my answer was, that's it. You're grounded. You're just grounded for the next month. And then an hour later, I'm like, go outside, go play with your friends. And they're like, I thought I was grounded. I'm like, I can't take you anymore. Go outside, go play with your friends. We all have had those moments.
It's the emotional situation. Yes. I'm more of a hold it all in and explode myself person. I don't explode outwardly. I'm more keep it all inside and I shut down. I'm like Ice Queen when I get very, very, very mad.
Oh, yeah.
And which isn't as good either because kids see that and they're like, oh my gosh, I made my mother mad and
I broke my mom.
I broke my mom and she is withholding love and I need to do this to get the love back, which is not a good thing.
Well,
it's not.
And neither is exploding. So we're just giving two opposites of the pendulum there of the reactions that we have as parents. And the first thing we're going to tell you in this is that it's okay. We all make mistakes.
Yes.
Another great positive discipline thing. Mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn.
They are. They're wonderful opportunities.
Right. So that's why we try to give whatever tools that Joanne and I have. And one big one before we get into the 4 hours is going to be try not to make your decision about punishing or doing consequences. And I'm hoping you'd go towards consequences, not punishing. Try not to make that decision in the moment when your emotional capacity is you're just flames coming out of your head.
Yeah, you are allowed to cool down. Like, you do not have to make decisions when you are totally upset and feeling like you are going to blow. Like, I don't know where that came from either. It's like you had to have the answer right away. And that's just not like, you can't make decisions in the heat of the moment like that.
I feel like some of it comes from the advice that if you wait too long for a consequence, children won't be able to put the two together, which is true. Like, you can't give a child a consequence a week and a half later and expect them, a small child, expect them to remember what happened. Or
That's true.
Yeah, right? But that doesn't mean you have to decide right there in the moment.
No.
5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, if you need that to calm down, you'll be making a better impact than you would if you had done it in the moment.
Even a couple of hours later, if you say right at the get-go, okay, I need to cool down. I need to cool down right now. And I need the space to cool down. If you tell your kids that you are taking that space to cool down, like, not only will you not make a decision based on emotion, but you're also giving your kids permission to cool down in their own lives before they take action.
Which we all want them to do.
Yeah.
But we've got like this great, like, I'm jumping over to the 4 R's because, like, if you're able to utilize the 4 R's, then you don't have to worry so much about this trying to make the decision in the moment because you already have steps in place.
Yes. So the 4 R's of consequences. This is how you can tell if you have a consequence and not a punishment. My son is playing a game right now on his computer where he's a thief and the cops are after him. So I'm so excited about this new app, Give As We Grow, where instead of being the quote unquote bad guys, kids are practicing giving back.
That is so cool, Joanne. I really wish that there was something like this when my kids were younger that got them excited about giving back to others and helped them build a better understanding of what it really means to volunteer.
Give As We Grow is the first of its kind free educational mobile app for children ages 8 to 11 that teaches kids via fun, service-focused minigame quests to tap into their unique talents and interests to help others.
And did you know that studies show that there is a biological connection between generosity and happiness, and that volunteering improves people's physical and mental health? I mean, kids who volunteer typically do better in school and are less likely to engage in risky behaviors. And that is something that I think we all want for our kids.
Ready to spark a new movement in generosity? Find and download Give As We Grow for free in the App Store for Android and iOS. And for resources for the whole family, visit giveaswegrow.org. This message is sponsored by Greenlight. It is so hard to raise kids who know how to manage money. Bree, right now, my kids are all about earning money for presents. My daughter wants to get presents for all of her friends, and my son is doing a Secret Santa with his friends.
Oh, I hear you. And if you're looking to raise kids that are financially responsible, we have got a lifesaver recommendation for you that you need to check out. It is Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app made for families that gives kids and teens an easy and fun way to gain financial literacy, all while giving parents peace of mind.
You can send instant money transfers, automate allowance, and even keep an eye on kids' spending with real-time notifications. Meanwhile, your kids can begin their journey towards financial autonomy by learning how to save, invest, and spend wisely.
So sign up for Greenlight today and get your first month free when you go to greenlight.com/NGM.
That's greenlight.com/NGM to try Greenlight for free. Greenlight.com/NGM. So the first one is related.
Okay, tell us more about related.
So the consequence should be related to the misbehavior. So like sending a kid to bed or taking away their screen time because they were like riding a bike in the street, those two things, they're not related.
Right. Yes, exactly. I'm trying to think of something where we had that before too. And I'm coming to grades. Like, okay, you can't go do anything with your friends until your grades get better. Okay,
Yeah.
so taking away all social interaction isn't necessarily going to make those grades get better.
No, they're not related. So we always want to make sure that the consequence is related to the misbehavior. With grades, I mean, if a child has bad grades, first of all, it might not be under their total control. They don't have a skill or something is missing there that they need help in. So it's not a situation for punishment in bad grades. It's a situation of, okay, like, what do you need help in? And kind of looking at it with the child instead of going right to that punishment.
Right. It's about sitting down, let's talk about it and figure out what the cause is.
It's being that detective.
Yes.
Figuring out the reasons behind the behavior and fixing those instead of trying to like put like this Band-Aid on it, which doesn't fix it.
Right. So the first one, we're going to make it related There we go.
And then the second one is respectful.
Ooh, this one's important.
It needs to be respectful to the child. So a lot of times when we get really heated, we yell.
Right. And I know that when someone's yelling at me, I don't always listen to them all that much. I don't always have a real open mind to what they're putting out there because they're yelling at me.
And you have to like shut down, almost like emotionally shut down if someone's yelling at you just to protect yourself.
True. Yeah.
There's no place for learning when the consequences are not respectful of the child because they will just clam up, they will get defensive, or they'll shut down.
You know what I immediately go to when I think about the yelling, which tends to be the most common skip up for us as parents when it comes to being disrespectful. We're yelling or we're saying things in a mean tone or we're being accusatory. I always run back and in my head, I hear Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah. All the adults in that whole series. Wah, 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 wah. And that's probably what my kids hear.
Yeah. And you know what's something else that isn't respectful? Do you remember dunce caps that were really big in movies in like the 60s? Like that is an example of a disrespectful consequence.
Do you remember when you were a kid having to write your name on the board?
Yes. Yeah.
I had to, Brie hangs on to nuggets in her life. I'm not a real person that hangs on to a ton of stuff, but this one stuck with me.
Yeah.
In kindergarten, I had to write my name on the board because I started writing the letter M before the teacher said go.
No.
And that like scarred me for where I just was sat quietly in class the rest of like all of my schooling. I never spoke up. I never did a thing without being told first because I was so mortified for having to do that.
It makes you shut down.
It does.
It's horrible. You know what? When I was in the classroom, and I'm like not proud of this now, if I knew then what I know now, I would not use this as a behavior thing. But I had this chart in the back of my classroom where you could be like in the green zone or the yellow zone or the red zone.
And they still use those.
And if kids did something, they would have to go and move their clothespin down to the zone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so disrespectful of the child and how humiliating. And do you know what? It didn't change behavior at all. Like the kids,
you had your yellow kids, you had your green kids, and you had your red kids.
Always. There was no change in behavior. So it didn't even work.
Right.
But a lot of people fall back to those techniques, but they are not respectful. So they're not an example of a consequence.
I love the point of you saying like, I know more now. Had I known then what I know now. Isn't that the famous phrase for parents? Mm-hmm. You know, if I had known then what I know now.
Yeah.
Or just every adult, I think. We all live by that. Well, you know, the more you know.
The more you know. If you are one of my former fifth graders who's listening to this podcast, I am sorry.
Virtual hugs.
I am so sorry. I should not have done that.
But, you know, hey, we're learning and we're building.
Yes,
so we have 2 R's now, related and respectful.
Third one, reasonable.
I like reason.
Does it make sense? Does it make sense? Does the it's hard to say that saying because it's like, does the punishment fit the crime? Well, we're not talking about punishments here. We're talking about consequences. But if you have that in the back of your head, like, is it too big of a consequence for what happened? Like, if you're
overreaction.
It's an overreaction. Yeah. If your kid like chased a ball into the street and there were like no cars coming whatsoever, is it reasonable to ground them for a week?
Right. Because the whole point of this is to allow children the opportunity to correct their behavior while the lesson is fresh in their mind. That is the whole point of this. If you're immediately overcorrecting and taking away the opportunity whatsoever, then they're never going to learn what they were supposed to do next.
Yeah, and I know that kind of thinking. I mean, those things happen because you're like, okay, if I make the consequence so big, then they will never do it again.
Maybe that'll happen.
But usually you find that you'll have to give that same consequence over and over again, and there'll still be misbehavior that happens. And then what you find is they start being sneaky.
Yes, because they don't want to get caught.
And they start hiding things and trying to get away with things. And if they're tweens, they turn off the tracking on their device so you can't see where they are.
We are not speaking from personal experience whatsoever.
But they'll do that. So it's good to know that, you know, reasonable consequences.
Right. Because again, chances are if you're listening to us, you do want to have that relationship with your kids where they do know that they can come to you when they've made a mistake. Mm-hmm. They do know that they can come to you for guidance and for support. And when we tend to overcorrect, and we don't have that reasonable consequence, like you were just saying, like they will avoid coming to you out of fear of having an overreaction or getting in trouble. And I think that all of us can think back to at least one time in our childhood where we did something that we were like, ooh, I done really messed up right here, and needed help, but didn't actually reach out for it.
So I can think of one time that for me, the consequence was unreasonable as a child. It wasn't my parents. It was actually at my elementary school. And what had happened was, so we had all of our lunch boxes in the Ramada, and in someone's lunchbox, I won't mention her name, but her mom was also a teacher at the school. I saw in her lunchbox, she had this like macaroni and beef dish. And I was so excited because my grandma makes us macaroni and beef. Like she made it for us every week. And I was like, oh my gosh, someone else like makes it too. Little did I know this is actually called hot dish, and it's a big Midwestern thing. But at the time I was like, oh, somebody else knows this. So I take it out of her lunchbox and I show her. And I'm like, look, my grandma makes this too. And I was just being like an overenthusiastic second grader. That's all I was doing. Well, guess what? She went to her mom and she told them that I was stealing stuff out of her lunchbox.
Oh, no.
They would not even, like, they wouldn't even consider my, like, side of the story, the teachers. Right. And I got after school detention for a month. Yeah.
No.
And
How have I never heard this story?
I didn't tell my parents. And actually, my mom found out another way. And she's like, if you were hungry, you could have told me. And I'm like, I wasn't hungry. You're like, that wasn't it at all. I was so excited to show this that like, but it was an unreasonable consequence. And because of that, like, first of all, it showed me that, hey, this girl's not to be trusted. And I remember her full name. Don't you like So that's the first thing it taught me. And the second thing it taught me was that like these adults at the school didn't care. Like they didn't care about my opinion.
Right. It taught you that you probably couldn't 100% trust them.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is awful. None of us want that to be the situation with our kids. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can't believe I've never heard that before. Oh my goodness.
I hold that one close to my heart. Yeah.
Oh man.
It makes me so, because also like I also had like body image issues. And so just the fact that they thought I was stealing food made me, it's so bad.
It hit you on so many levels that they could have never known.
Like
because they didn't listen.
I'm close to tears right now just thinking about it. So like, yeah. Reasonable consequences.
Okay, so we have our 3 R's. We have related, respectful, reasonable. What is that 4th R?
We have revealed.
Okay.
Revealed. So this is all about not punishing in the heat of the moment so that kids know consequences and what they are in advance.
Right. This was one that we talked about. Like, I was debating with you about where we would put this one in the podcast, because I'm like, on one hand, I feel like it needs to go first, because you need to know that no matter what consequences you choose, that they are revealed in advance. Mm-hmm. But on the flip side, you made a really good point that you still need to have the consequence first before you can even talk about having it be revealed. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting placement.
It does well for like repeated behavior. So like if kids go through something and they make a decision that may impact their safety or may impact like respect of others, like say it's like a chore thing even where they don't do their chore on time and you discuss with them, you're like, okay, well, how can you figure out how to do your chores on time? Or like, what's the consequence for not doing chores on time? And
hey, Aubrey here, and I wanted to share one of my favorite gifts to give during the holiday season, a Storyworth book. It is the most amazing gift ever. Storyworth is an online service that lets you create a special and unique gift of someone's story. I've given Storyworth books to both of my parents, and it has been their favorite gift, hands down. And did I mention it is so easy? Storyworth emailed my parents questions every week that I handpicked from their massive list of questions that they have. All my parents had to do was open their email and answer them. That easy. I asked my dad questions like, did you have any rules that you set for yourself as a parent, which you immediately broke? And he did. I even asked both of my parents, are you more like your mom or your dad? And they shared a lot of really amazing qualities that I didn't know about my grandparents at the time. Then at the end of the year, Storyworth compiles all of their answers, puts them into this gorgeous book that covers everything. My parents love showing us their books, and I personally love getting a chance to read them. With Storyworth, I am giving giving those I love a thoughtful and personal gift from the heart that preserves their memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/NGM and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/NGM to save $10 on your first purchase.
We're hitting that time of year where my brain gets so overloaded in December that I look for anything to make life easier. And I have to say, Brie, that Green Chef is one of those services.
Yes, Green Chef is there to take away the dreaded, oh my goodness, what are we going to eat for dinner tonight? You can eat clean all holiday long with over 80 weekly meal options each week, featuring things like quick and easy, protein-packed, calorie-smart, or my personal favorite, the keto options.
And you don't have to lose track of healthy eating habits during the holidays because every Green Chef customer gets a free session with one of their registered dietitians who can walk you through how to make clean eating work for you, which is very cool.
And I have to say that I have been loving their recipes lately. They put things together I have never thought of. This week, we're trying the lemon basil caper pork with sauteed cauliflower, bell peppers, almonds, and feta cheese, my favorite. Their recipes make it so easy to support my wellness goals without skipping on flavor.
For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code NGM250 at greenchef.com/NGM250. That's greenchef.com/NGM250. And don't forget to use that code NGM250 to get $250 off.
Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well.
They agree that, okay, well, I need to get my chores done before I do this. So like in our house, it's like I need to scoop the cat litter before I watch a Roblox video on TV.
Right. And so the consequence there actually is basically something that we refer to in this field as an if-then.
Yeah. When then.
When then. Sorry.
When then, yeah.
Yes.
So like when I scoop the cat litter, then I can watch Roblox so that they know that, okay, I can't watch Roblox until I scoop the cat litter.
Right. So you're not taking away screen time. You're
No.
just pointing out to them when it comes in.
When it comes in. So
Right.
if the cat litter box isn't scooped, you could then go in and be like, so like you said that you agreed not to watch Roblox until you scoop the cat litter.
And yet here you are on the couch
And
watching
then
Roblox.
here you are. Well, I don't say here you are because that's going to start a fight. I just let it. I leave it there and let him come to his own conclusions.
That's Bree's passive aggressiveness. Ask my kids.
Passive aggressive. That needs to be a superhero. Passive aggressive girl.
Oh my gosh, that would be funny. That needs to be the next SNL skit. Passive aggressive girl.
Passive aggressive parent.
Yes. But
You get a pap.
Yes. There you go. But I think that one important thing about being the reveal too is that in these 4 R's for consequences, we're not saying that you necessarily have to have a consequence for every single little infraction. Like in my household, the consequences are related to the household rules. So like we have one household rule. I think many of you have it. We don't lie. Right?
Yeah.
You don't openly lie. And if you say you're going somewhere, that's where you're going. And if we find out later that you went somewhere, like you took an offshoot, like you had permission to go shopping at the mall, you went with your friend, and then you guys decided to go to McDonald's, which was on the other side of a busy street or maybe 3 blocks away before you went to the mall. And then later you come back and you're like, yeah, I went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Hey, that's not what you had permission for. I feel like that was an omission of truth. You know, you didn't tell me that. And it's a conversation, but there are consequences for that. And
There's some natural consequences for that too. Like I could think right away, like your trust has just gone down.
That's exactly it. Like, so we had this happen recently in our household and we had a discussion about that. And it was like, hey, I now have trouble trusting you that you're going to do what you said you were going to do. And when we talked about the consequence, my child, who I'm trying to leave nameless on this situation, knew that the consequence was now next time they ask, I'm probably not going to say yes to letting them go out because broke my trust.
They have
now
to kind of prove themselves again.
Yeah.
And get the trust back little by little.
Yes, we have to rebuild that trust. And that's going to be something that, again, when we brought it back, it was like, you know that this is a very important thing. You know that there would be a consequence for not telling the whole truth.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's
Okay.
a big one.
I want to play a game. We're going to play punishment or consequence.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you play along with us and we'll give you the answer right after we do it. Okay, here we go. So your child leaves their bike outside and does not put it away. And so you ban them from using their bike for a week. Punishment or consequence? Let's go through these 4 R's.
Dun, 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 dun.
So first of all, first R, related. Is it related? Is it related to the bike?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
related
totally
to the
related
bike.
to the bike. 2, is it respectful to the child?
No,
No, why would you say?
because you're taking away the child's bike.
Yeah, but they left it out.
They left it out, but it should be a discussion with the child because it is
Good
technically their. So this is where it gets tricky. I'd say like it's their possession. I gave them a bike.
Yes.
That's their bike. I'm not saying they can do whatever they want with the bike, but there are some things that I'm overreaching if I were
It's an area of gray. It's not black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. So reasonable taking away for a week.
Because they left the bike out once?
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's reasonable.
I feel like
that's overreacting.
Yeah. It's acting in the heat of the moment because like you're so mad. You're like, if I have to put that bike away one more time. Like,
I feel like if I left something outside and my spouse was to come back and take it away from me and say like, you can't use it again for a week.
I'd be like, screw you.
I'd be pretty mad. Yes. I'd be like, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah. So not reasonable and revealed.
That was not revealed in advance.
Not revealed in advance. So that is definitely a punishment.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
No.
No.
I didn't know we were doing this game.
It's like, let's spring a game on Brie last minute. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. I was trying to desperately figure out how to do like a ding sound. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one. I have another one. So your child refuses to do their homework and in class gets in trouble with the teacher.
Okay.
So let's go through those 4 R's. Is it related? Not doing your homework and getting in trouble with the teacher?
I would say so.
I would say so. Like
Yeah.
being forced to like stay in during recess and do homework.
You guys should see my very inquisitive, like, am I going to mess up on this
No,
on air? Okay.
Stuff like this.
Okay. And the next one, respectful.
Working with Joanne is fun.
She keeps you on your toes. Okay, so respectful.
Respectful. So as a parent, you totally let a natural consequence happen.
Right. I was going to say, like, unless the teacher did the dunce cap in the classroom.
Yeah, which teachers don't do. Usually they just have them stay in and do their homework.
Right, right. And that's another thing, too. Like, when they come back to you and say they got in trouble with their teacher, definitely talk to them more and get more details out of what happened, too, so that you know the whole story.
If getting in trouble is like, oh, I had to stay in at recess and do my homework.
Right.
Yeah. If getting in trouble is being yelled at in front of the entire class, and that's another issue.
Yeah.
But most teachers don't do that.
Yeah.
Reasonable.
It seems reasonable.
I think
Because
it's
it
reasonable.
directly affects the teacher in the classroom setting. It doesn't affect me at home.
Nope. So reasonable is revealed.
Hopefully it was revealed in advance. I would think that I would expect that.
Yeah, I would expect teachers to be like, if you miss homework, you have to stay in and do it.
Because you knew you had homework to do.
So just by like not having to enforce anything, they got a natural consequence.
And you don't really need to follow up with it at home.
No, not at all. It is actually kind of a like relief as a parent that you can let these natural consequences happen. I let them happen with like forgetting library books.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because that library teacher, they just get the look. Or for those kids that really love reading, the shame of, or sorry, the disappointment of not getting a second book or not being able to get a new book. Or for other kids, it's just the shame that all the other kids have books and you're standing in line with none and everybody knows why.
So I'm going to do something fun on my Instagram stories today. If you go to No Guilt Mom on Instagram, we're going to play this punishment or consequence game in the stories. So you can kind of test your knowledge to see if you know how to identify a punishment or a consequence. So go over there to Instagram. It's at No Guilt Mom. And until next time, remember, the best mom's a happy mom. Take care of you.
Thanks so much for stopping by. Are you looking for something to listen to with your whole family? Then check out 6 Minutes, produced and created by Gen Z Media. With over 200 twisty, cliffhanger-filled episodes, 6 Minutes tells the story of 11-year-old Holiday who is pulled from the icy waters with no memory of who she is or where she came from.
3 years ago, Brinley Pasternak helped the Anders family uncover the truth about Holiday's past. Now she'll need them to help her find the truth about hers. In 6 Minutes Out of Time, the long-awaited sequel, Cyrus Anders is found unconscious near the mysterious Elixir Academy in Florida, and Brinley learns the school may have a shocking connection to her missing mother.
Dive in now and get the most downloaded family audio adventure in history. Follow 6 Minutes wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen early and ad-free with the GZM family subscription.